Well, good evening. It's Randonautica, Part 3. What actually happened today when my guy and I went out on our second round of Randonautica? Yeah, doing that thing. First, I want to say that address a big elephant in the room that people keep bringing up and using as either a reason to not do it or a reason to do it, or I don't know. And this is the experience that some young people had up in Seattle using this app, and they were recording themselves on TikTok. And apparently, they did find a suitcase that did actually have a body in it. And when the police came, and then they went further to discover that indeed there was a second body when they went looking. That was, further upshore, downshore. Anyhow, turned out to be a couple, still under investigation. So people are all, oh my God, you're going to find a dead body. Now, think about the numbers game on this thing. This is an app, it's been out for quite a few months now. People are using it all over the world. All over the world. And have you heard about any other stories like this? Because I sure haven't. So, yes, it's a numbers game. Something like this is bound to happen. There have been plenty of times people have been out hiking, biking, horseback riding, even stopping at the side of the road and they discover remains. So you don't need an app to have something weird like that happen. This just was a very sad coincidence. And here's one of the things that we've encountered, and I think a lot of people have encountered with this app. So my biggest problem with this app is the 10 points a day because it generates me a bunch of crap. It's probably not worth keeping around now that they implemented that. I'll just get farm fields and water where I can't go. That's coming from someone, I believe, who's in the UK, because they say meters in their posting about this app on the little App Store review thing. And effectively, yeah, I would tend to agree with that assessment. We live in an area that there's enough stuff around that you don't go through those 10 points that quickly, but we certainly went through 4 of 6 that pretty much gave us bupkis as far as results. So, and really 1 out of the 6 was the most interesting. The one you're looking at now is the runner-up. So, yeah, again, it's a numbers game, and if you did a coin toss, you get a 50-50. We're talking 2 out of 6, so that's not even as good. And really, honestly, 1 out of 6 really qualifies, so that's even lower odds. So really what you're looking for is some fun. Now, definitely daytime. If you see trash because you've stopped somewhere, pick that up and take it away. And if you're hitting private property, turn around, go, leave. Do not trespass. That is so not cool. I mean, you want someone walking all over your property? Come on. No. So this is our first generated, and that was mine. I was looking for a flower. Well, we do have flowers down here, all right. So okay, whatever. We'll say these lovely little Queen Anne's lace looking. I think those are anise actually. Okay, those are flowers, but this is actually kind of interesting. The cardinal right here. My husband's mother loved cardinals, and my mother's sister also loved cardinals. And they're not native to our area, so that's kind of interesting. It's not a pretty flower. There are pretty flowers, but, okay, whatever. So, we're turning around in circles, and the time of this photograph is 3:45. And so our next results don't come. Oh, nice mask that I have, though. Don't forget to wear your masks. Sugar skull ones are pretty cool. This one is awesome. Okay, so it's 3:53 now. So we got 8 minutes that we were going around in circles from the last thing. And literally, this thing is sending us back and forth, and I don't know what's going on. So we're driving, and I see these sheep. I go, hey, let's turn around and take a picture of the sheep. So we stop here, and we got sheep, one over here going, hey, what are you looking at? And I'm like, I'm looking at you, and I'm not looking at you anymore, man. So while I'm taking photos of the sheep, we're generating coordinates of where are we going to go next. And husband sets his intent. We go for anomaly. And it's like, okay, let's see if we get any better results. Because if we get told to do a U-turn again, that's it. Because we're being told to do these U-turns on a pretty major thoroughfare, highway almost. In our area, it would be a highway. So, come on. What are we supposed to do with that? So we stopped, we generated coordinates, and went on our merry way, and we end up here. And yeah, this is kind of weird. And I'll explain the intent thing with my husband and such in a moment. But this is basically a cemetery that's associated with a church that was erected in the late 1800s in our area. And oddly enough, within the first 5 years, no, 3 years actually, of it being erected, it burned down. And then again, the building burned down a second time after being, reconstructed in the late 1940s, and it was a controlled burn that did this. Now, I took a picture of this particular headstone because it says Doty, I think, and that may have connection to my family. I have to look into it because the aunts who did that research may have gotten a little off track, so got to look back into that. So that was just an interesting thing. But here we are at the cemetery, and first off, I'd never seen grave sites with this kind of handles being left on from having lowered these big concrete, slabs on top. But they left that for some reason. Now, I understand why they may have made this all concrete, because if you've had fires, one fire, you're going to pretty much want to get those graves secured, right? Okay, sure, I get that. But that was real interesting. So, here we have Sister, and then Charles, which is very interesting. And, some more old, hard to read them. Very interesting. So I decided to do some look and read the little pamphlet they had at the cemetery talking about it. And unfortunately, due to that fire in the late 40s, the majority of the records about who is buried here were destroyed. Also, a number of the grave markers were wooden, and so a lot of those just disappeared. Now, I don't know if that was just a regular thing or if that was more of a pauper type grave, like we are, been known to be used pretty much in paupers' graves. Very nondescript markers, generally made out of wood. So that could be true. Another thing that they mention here is that rumor has it that there may be some number of Chinese persons buried outside the West Cemetery fence line. These persons were probably employed by local farmers, may not have had family to locally provide for traditional burial. Also, it's possible that Chinese were not allowed to be buried in the cemetery, which discrimination like that never happened. So yeah, this particular headstone I thought was really cool because it appears to be for a child, but it was all on its own. Very small, just by itself. Here's one that's so old you can't even read the writing on it anymore. Possibly, that fire, 2 fires, and wear and tear over the years on marble. That's it. Now we're getting to the interesting area right back here where I'm circling. I believe that is the area, and down here that they're referring to as possible other graves. Here, this one we're looking at now appears to be a family plot of sorts, and I'm afraid that these smaller markers that are within may represent children because, mortality rates, it wouldn't be unlikely. So I just thought this was a very lovely marker, beautifully done out of metal. And then we have, I think that actually is still wood, which is kind of interesting. That might have been put there again because obviously 2 fires. So again, back here is an area that may be somewhere that church members may even actually congregate. Don't know, church is obviously closed right now. But this is very interesting because this is the basic orientation that they were speaking of in the pamphlet about these other possible remains being buried outside of the constraints of the actual graveyard. So yeah, then we end up here. And okay, again, graveyards at night, scary stuff, yeah? Well, even scarier if you come upon a grave that has a hole in it. A hole in it. That is nuts. We had the marker that was broken off, assuming it was a cross of some sort. But here, this thing is just like that. And I was like, I'm so glad we're not here at night. I got tripped in that darn thing. Looks funny on television, not so funny when it happens to you, and creepy. I mean, wow, how did it end up so damaged and that they didn't fix it, that nobody fixes this thing? That's kind of a weird one for me because usually restoration, and they even have some stuff about Boy Scouts helping, but here we have this. So I don't know. Thankfully, not everything was that creepy. But then we get to the end of the line of my looking around, taking photos, and we have a couple last things that are kind of interesting, okay? And here it is. This is the photo I took today. It's on the left. My husband's intent was motorcycle. Mine had been creepy, and his was the one we were supposedly focused on, but we had been going in circles, like I said. So, motorcycle. Now, when we first got there, I'm like, I don't see any motorcycles. And there wasn't. There was no parked motorcycle. There was not an obvious motorcycle. But we get here, and here are these gears, and here's this backhoe, and gears, and such. Well, I went online to look this up, and here is from when the obit was actually published in 2010. You can see the gears are right here. The stuff is right here. Same stuff. Okay. And same flower pots, unfortunately, that now have kind of gone by the wayside. But if you want to stretch it, sure, those are gears and bicycle. The guy actually was into bike riding and also car racing. So one could make a stretch. One definitely could make a stretch if they wanted to. Yeah, we experienced something kind of weird. Hey, talk about weird. That's really weird. That's not what I wanted. I wanted to show you this stuff again. That's just too creepy. Even I don't want to look at that. Look at that. So wrapping this up, so we're getting ready to leave, and I'm taking my last photos of signs that I realize I'm not going to share with you because I don't want you to know exactly where this place is. But anyhow, I'm taking pictures, and my husband's telling me that someone's pulling up behind us. But I didn't really understand what he meant until we got home. And what he said was, no, somebody pulled up behind us when I was pulling out. And see, there was a parking lot here. There was not, they didn't have to pull up behind us. If they were going there to park, there were parking spaces. They pulled up behind us, and it was some woman who got out of the car and then apparently started going to her, the back of her car to open up the hatch. We were out of there before anything else happened. I don't know if she just pulled over at the same time we happened to be there and needed to change diapers on her kid that we couldn't see or he couldn't see, or what. Have no idea. Or if she was someone associated with the church who was given a call of, hey, go and check what's going on there. They're taking a bunch of pictures or whatever. I don't think so. I think it was probably a coincidence, but it was a kind of odd thing. So, if you want to go stretch and make things really odd, okay, yeah. The last place it sent it to was nearer to where we live. And I was asking for creepy again, and we went by a house that was an older house, probably built right around the 1900s. Really cool house, seen it plenty of times, and the app was trying to send us behind the house, which would have been, again, private property, and also a driveway, basically, to the back of the house. And, well, sure, if you've ever lived in an older house, people used to throw stuff out in their backyard. They'd have their little trash pit, and they'd burn stuff, and have a place where it would land outside from the kitchen, and they'd probably move some of it over to burn, and other stuff might just sink. Found that in a house we lived in the 1990s through early 2000s, and it was built in 1916, and you're going to get to see some of those artifacts another time because they're actually quite interesting. But so creepy, go behind any old house, you might find creepy. Go behind any house for that for that matter, and it could be creepy. So wrapping it up, Randonautica, it's a fun app. It's fun. And I encourage you to if you're going to do this, clear it out every time to regenerate, relaunch it, clear out your whole browser thing on your phone so you have a nice clean thing. And if you want to be really cool about it, make sure that any photos or whatever you've been doing, get it out of the cloud. Don't have that there, what you're doing. Oh, look, my hand's all over the place. Anyhow, make your device as clean as possible so it does not have any information other than current apps on your phone and stuff. Everything else that you can delete, get it out of there before you launch it and see if that makes any difference. And definitely do not speak your intent. If you want it to be fun and have your brain try to make connections, that's the only way to do it. And then, of course, kiddies, adults, be smart, do this during the day or at dusk at the very latest, because it does send you to private property an awful lot. And you don't want to get caught in a bad situation because, people, especially now, quarantine, people are on edge. So you don't want to end up stepping on somebody's turf. And like I said, I don't think you'd want them stepping on yours either. So with that, Andrea Doria signing off. Randonautica. Do I have music anymore? Where'd my music go, man? Oh, I'm so upset. I wanted to, not have you look that. All right. High tech once more. I'll never let you down in that respect. You're always going to get low tech at this point with the good old Andrea Doria anomaly section because we're just not there yet. And I like to get the stuff up while it's happening so it's fresh in the head. So there you go. Thank you for hanging in. If you're enjoying this stuff, now I'm going to give you the pitch. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Scary stories, weird journeys, Randonautica fun, other stuff. What the heck? If you like it, tell a friend, subscribe, all that stuff. Have some fun. Share your stories with me. I'd love to hear them. Yeah, look, I'm playing the music. No, yes, no. Ooh. So, with that, I'm going to say, I was hoping I was going to get it to skip around again. Didn't work out. Good night, good morning, good day, good travels. If you go out, bring your masks. Be careful. Don't do this at night. Have fun. And I'll see you for the next journey or story or whatever else might be happening in this crazy world of coincidence or not. We don't know. Do we really want to know? If we did, where'd the fun be, right? Good night.